Hello, space cadets. The vibe is not vibing today. Just for some context, the energy may be a little bit different right now because I went to bed at 5 in the morning, which was fun in the moment, but detrimental after the moment. And I also drove on the freeway in LA. So now I'm here. I tried to go to sleep, but I couldn't sleep, and my brain has been super chaotic lately. I've been really obsessed with my big project, and now it's tipping over the edge of I'm becoming Frankenstein before Frankenstein's monster becomes. Anyway, so there's a lot to update. I've been thinking about how I really like our little bi-monthly meetings, and then I was thinking about how confusing bi-monthly is as a word. It can mean twice a month, or it can mean every 2 months. In this case, I mean twice a month. Then it made me think about how much easier language would be if majority of the world was autistic. Like, I was just thinking, I really want to see a world where autistic people ran how language was created, because I think a lot more would make sense and we would have a lot less confusion. For example, having the language to describe sensory overload and masking, because a lot of people don't understand the different varying levels of those experiences. And this is very on topic to the main thing that I want to talk about today, which is that I quit my job. Yeah, after all of that, I did. And the unfortunate part is that I really didn't want to. I really wanted to push through and to find a way to stay there. And I was really lucky to be in a workplace where I finally felt like there was so much work being put into accommodating me, and I just felt really accepted and understood and related to. But the hard part about that is that just because the team was really awesome doesn't mean that the entire environment was also the same. And I know that there's different levels to different jobs. Like, sometimes you have to make kind of sacrifices in the jobs that you get. No job is perfect. Even the perfect job will have its own little hindrances and different things like that. But the hard part that I've been realizing now that I'm growing more into my own and not trying to push myself to the other standards that I've seen so much, because I see how that path, the standard path, is just not working for me. And a really big thing is weighing in how much it's really impacting your life. I know I seem like really sad, like I'm talking about the death of something or somebody, but it's not that case. I'm just really tired, and I'm also really happy too, because the reason why I drove so far was for a personal endeavor that will be happening soon. But this is also the detrimental effects of obsession, and I've talked about this in videos I've made a long time ago about how hyperfocus is like really awesome, because it just feels like everything is zooming past me and I can just catch whatever I want, all these ideas that are happening. But sleep has been really hard because of this, because I've just gone into full obsession mode. Even though it may seem like I'm giving a eulogy or something right now, I'm just not in the same like mood, energy, headspace that I usually am in. All of that to say, it is really hard to feel so supported while also not being able to translate that just the room itself is not accommodating, and I can't expect them to change every single aspect of every single piece of the workplace. Fluorescent lights are a really big thing that is really hard to deal with as a person who's really sensitive to lights and sounds, And the thing about fluorescent lights is that it's not just the brightness of it, but also they come with a lot of buzzing noises, and sometimes they flicker, and it's little things like that that can really add up. And throughout the day, it's just like you start off with all these, it's just like with spoon theory, where it's like I start off with all these spoons, and then slowly but surely each one gets taken away by every little thing that happens. And no matter how hard I try to not believe in it, or no matter how hard I try to not let it affect me or whatever, sometimes you just can't control that. And that's what makes me powerful. Like, that's what's really beautiful, is having that sensitivity, but not being able to turn it off can also be really detrimental, especially when you're just trying really hard to focus and there's like 5 conversations happening at once. So even though I may see my intense sense of hearing and my synesthesia and things like that as a gift, it's still, there's a reason why I feel incredibly disabled by the autistic experience, and why it's not just all like sunshine and flowers all the time. And it's because this is a very real thing. And I also feel like the way I experience autism isn't inherently disabling. There's a lot of things that, if we just lived in a perfect world that was much more adhered to autistic needs and experiences, then I probably wouldn't be considered disabled. But the fact of the matter is, I'm still in the minority with that. And not having the language all the time to translate what is going on can be really hard. Or having the language but it not being commonplace is another thing too. There's something that I realized, and it's something that I call the bus mentality. I'm sure there's another word for it, but for me, the bus mentality is something that I adopted from being on the bus for so long and navigating the bus, is that public transportation is really unreliable. So if you're going to be on the bus, wherever you're going, it makes a lot more sense to just plan everything that you want to do in advance and plan it within the sanctions of going to the bus. And the reason why I did this too is so that I wouldn't have to do too many two-way trips or go back and forth and go to different places and things, because also the bus is really overwhelming. Even though I may have headphones and sunglasses and things like that, it's still just a lot to be around other people in a public setting. And there's a lot of information to take in all the time in the outside world. So I did this thing where I would, if I was going to take the bus somewhere, then I would have to plan every single thing along the lines of making sure that I do it all in one go, so that I don't have to go on the bus as much. And the thing about doing all of those things at once is that it takes a lot of energy. So by the time I'm home, I just crash out. I just go to bed, turn off the lights, not talk to anybody for however long I need to be gone. And yeah, surprise or not surprise, it's not a really sustainable way of living. This was the first time that I openly talked about being autistic in a workplace environment, and that I was openly supported and heard and listened. And still, despite all of that, the disabling effects of autism persist, because I can't just turn it off like I want to. So that's why I made the really hard decision to quit. And before I quit, the more I was like, no, you can do it. Prove like to yourself and to everybody around you, like you can make it through this. But the thing is that I've already done that with all the other jobs that I've pushed myself through. So why do I keep doing this? At the end of the day, I got what I wanted, I proved it, but at what cost? The cost is my psyche and my well-being and my physical health and just all of it. Like, another good example of this is when I had to fast for blood work, but then I had to do another appointment previously. And so I was like, well, yeah, just do it all in one go. Like, wake up early, take the bus, so I don't have to fast for as long, and drink a bunch of water, and just like do that, do the appointment, and then go get your blood drawn, and then just go back home. But I ended up crying in the lobby for about an hour because I almost passed out, and it was just really intense. Like, there was a baby crying and the lights were loud again. And even though I had my headphones, even though I came prepared, it is just intense. There's a lot of things you have to be aware of for going to the hospital or going to have a doctor's visit. I thought that that was the most productive way to go about things because I was doing it all in one go and I was getting it all done. But as it turns out, that's not the case. And as it turns out, constantly proving yourself all the time kind of just proves that you're willing to go through a lot to prove yourself, which is, it just doesn't make sense. I think I'd prove myself more by taking care of myself and actually being able to figure out what I want and need. And I'm no longer trying to prove myself to anybody because who I am is enough. I've always been such a big go-getter. I've always been wanting to be full of experiences and ideas and constantly going. But I've realized that I've grown more when I slow down. And that is what has happened here, is that I've gone on many walks. And I've stared at the roof and just let myself explore what is within, now that I have the space and quiet to do so. I'm totally making this up as I go, but if I was in the bus mentality then, now I'm in the walking mentality. Now I walk slowly and I walk along the path of life, and I'm like, whatever shows up, whatever is really much easier for my brain and for my health, which, as you know, is easier said than done, especially in this economy. As I walk along, whatever comes up, I will take, and I will take that in stride. And if it hinders my ability to walk, if it hinders my metaphorical ability to walk and to, well, also literal, but if it gets in the way of my path in life and what I feel like is good for me, then I know what's best for me. I'm tired of trying to play by the rules because the rules really don't apply to me anymore. Now I'm seeing I'm capable of a lot, but the way that I'm capable of a lot isn't matching what society wants from people who are capable of a lot. They want a good worker. They want somebody who can handle all these things at once. And so, since I don't have the language for that, that can be really hard. And, you know, that's where the best metaphor and the walking metaphor and all of that goes into what I found out, that just because I can prove them wrong doesn't mean I have to. I think this is a very important thing for young neurodivergent people to think about. I mean, I guess older people too, but this is something that I know would be a common experience among them. Just because you are capable of a lot, which we know most likely you are, even if you're not ready to see it yet or admit it. Many of us are capable of a lot, but just because we can do all of that doesn't mean that we should hold all of that all the time, or even most of the time, or even some of the time, or even, dare I say, at all. I can play neurotypical. I can make eye contact. I can be charismatic and turn on the persona that I need to turn on to fit in and to be respected and to be seen as an equally valued person in society. Because the thing is, we're so far from autism awareness and acceptance that many people don't know what it looks like. So if they see me fidgeting or not making eye contact or not talking in a hyper sweet saccharine tone all the time, they're left to assume that I'm with the same brain as everybody else and that I'm just choosing to do these things because I'm disinterested, or I'm rude, or I lack confidence, or a myriad of other things. They put upon the same expectations unknowingly, and that impacts the way that they treat you. Because the really hard thing that I've gotten through with masking is, well, why do you care so much about what other people think? And it's like, I really, for the most part, I don't. Why it matters is because it changes the way you're treated. Being treated like you're invisible, or being treated like you're not on the same level of everybody else, or being treated all these different ways is really, really hard and impactful, especially when you have this entire world within you that no one really gets to see because of that. Because it's so much more than trying to fit in. It's trying to survive in a world that expects you to do all of these things in order to be seen basically as human. Now I'm saying, screw it. Like, just because I can follow the rules of society and try my best to be whatever they want me to be at this stage of life, I have never lived a normal life, and I never will, and I never wanted to. So why am I trying so hard to do all of this? And this diary entry that I wrote, a portion of it that I want to share, really encapsulates what the mindset, the processes of going to work and all of that. Because it's not just socializing, it's not just lights, it's not just time management and all of this. It is the whole avalanche it becomes when you put it all together. What is it about clocking in and icebreakers and small talk and name tags and fluorescent lights and office chit-chat and food and weekend plans and asking and answering so many questions and computers and group chats and signatures and buttons and login prompts and rules and regulations and rules and artificial rules and appropriate attire and emails and meetings and timed lunch breaks and clocking out and going home with a high-pitched noise from the machine still ringing in your ears? Why is it that all of that makes me want to lay in the dark with no sight, no sound, and just tears? Our world is really far from autism acceptance and accommodating neurodivergent brains in the way that we really need it. Because in order for that to happen, so much of the world has to change, and we're just not ready for that. I mean, it's already changing a bunch, and it's still a struggle because we're barely getting the words for it. We're barely seeing that people who go through these things are also deserving of basic respect. I've accepted that I can't survive in a workplace like that. And I don't know the next time I will try to work a job like that, because I worked retail, I worked as a receptionist, I've worked as a food service person, and now I worked the most accommodating job I probably ever have had. I still did not adjust very well, even if I really, 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 really wanted to, because I kept just thinking that it was growing pains, that I've just never have had an environment like this before, and eventually I will adjust. Eventually it won't be as draining. Eventually I'll come home and I'll still have energy to do a bunch of other things. A week goes by and it doesn't change. And 2 weeks go by and it doesn't change. A month goes by. 2 months go by. And somehow it actually seems to get worse. If I can't do anything else in this world like that, and if everything's kind of FUCK'd anyway, might as well go all out. Might as well just do the main project that I've been doing, that I've been really obsessed with. And I know I had the same kind of exact realization before, but what makes this different is that I'm going to do it upon my own rules. I'm not going to do things that don't align with myself. And for example, this is something that aligns with myself. I love long-form talking content. I love inspirational content, and I love informative stuff. So if I don't feel like being on Instagram, I'm not going to do that. If I don't feel like going really far somewhere and socializing with a bunch of people just to sell a couple paintings. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do what I already do that makes me happy. And at this point, I just have to see how that goes, because nothing else is working. And now that I'm really obsessed with this project, I wholeheartedly believe in it. I've never believed in something more in my life. I think this is why I'm here. This feels like my purpose, and I haven't even fully started it yet, but I already know that this project is going to be life-changing, not just for myself, but for others. Which brings me into something that's really amusing, is that turns out I think you can make your own special interest. And that makes sense too, because this project I'm working on is basically every single special interest that I've had and every single thing that I'm passionate about put into one big thing. So I didn't think, as I was making it and as I was crafting it, that I would get special interest level obsessed with it, because I was like, oh, this is my own creation. And now I'm realizing that this is my special interest because it's all I can talk about, it's all I can think about. I sleep and I dream about it. Literally every single aspect of my life is directly related to what I'm doing with this project. Yeah, if you are somebody who has a lot of different passions and a lot of different special interests like that just seemingly don't relate to each other, I dare you to try to make something like a concept album or like a concept piece of art or writing or anything like that, combining all of them, and see what happens. See how obsessed you get. Passion is attractive. I want to see more passion in this world. Here's me leading by example. I'm passionate about this thing I'm doing, which is the video stuff, and I'm passionate about using little metaphors and trying to communicate my brain in different ways. I'm so tired right now. The world looks like it's glitching a bit. Oh, and so with practicing what I preach and all of that, I never really talked about how I plan to take care of my spiritual self after I talked about the whole spiritual awakening thing. I never really got into depth about the steps I'm taking in order to respect what I learned from that. But I think case in point, you've got it, is if I feel good about something, if something just feels right in my bones to do, even if it's a really hard decision, like moving on from work, I'm listening to what I call winks of the universe a lot more. Honestly, I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. But I think I made my point. Mic drop. When I was walking away and I took one last look at the building that I had a meeting in for work, I felt something change. It made me feel really emotional because all I saw was the sun and the light beaming through it and the clouds and just how beautiful everything was at that moment. And for the first time in a very long time, probably in forever, ever, it was like the younger version of me was there again. And this time she wasn't upset or trying to fix things or anything like that. It was like I hugged her and I said, the rest of the world has put you through this, but I'm not going to. I'm finally going to choose what I know has been good for you all along. I'm finally going to choose to not make you go through a world that doesn't match your brain and your heart. That's something money can never buy.